Regarding hallucinations, what kind of testing are you doing to ensure any AI tools you use are working well and accurately? And how much influence does the end user have on that process?
Look, I mean, I'm not going to go into the technical components. To me, at the end of the day, it's not any different from what we deal with now, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 30 years ago. At the end of the day, you have to have a critical eye in terms of what people are telling you, what information is being presented to you, and not just take it as face value. And I don't think that skill set changes based on generative AI. You just, the only trap that someone could fall into is it's so easy now that maybe you become overconfident, but it's just a little bit of like no different. Like if there's old saying like take the soup, like you probably want to like make sure you understand what the ingredients are before you eat the soup, like and don't just take it for face granted or face value. So Aaron, I'll defer to you though, because I think you're
Sure.
much more equipped to answer this question.
Sure. Thank you, Steve. I would say that I would immediately consider the following. Let's say that you are asking AI for a policy concept, or you're looking at juxtapose your company policy against like a handbook and state or federal guidelines, and you're asking it to synthesize for inconsistencies or consistencies to update a policy or to call out things that no longer exist. I think we need to think about what Alice spoke about, was how do we take 600 pages of information and validate it and synthesize it? So once you do that, you've got to go fact check. And because what it's done is it's created a space that's made it easier for you and more palatable, but you can't copy and paste it and say, okay, it's done the work for me. You can say, okay, I have a starting point based on these three resources that I've been able to uncover. Now I need to make sure I'm verifying my understanding. You also need to have a second look at it. So it's nothing wrong with having a second pair of eyes to troubleshoot off of a human based on the information that you've allegedly sourced. And so you always need to fact check your understanding of sources and also fact check your sources, period, to make sure that those sources are accurate, they're tried and true, and they're published from somewhere that you would believe is that you can authenticate. And so I would say that's how you move away from the hallucinations, especially in our field, because it can be dangerous, or that will be considered a catastrophic landmine.
100%. That's also just good practice day to day. So yeah, that was perfect. Alice, did you have anything you wanted to pop in here?
Yeah, the only thing I love that pop in on that is that engineers do a number of testing. So when we utilize that term hallucination, the reason why it currently exists in the lexicon and the ethosphere is because of OpenAI, and they floated that term out. And so what we must remember is that OpenAI is in fact a research firm, and they are doing things at a large scale along the spirit of research. Now, it's only very recently that they entered a multi-billion-dollar partnership with Microsoft in order to productize and monetize and commercialize what the research has demonstrated it's capable of. For people like Aaron and Steve and myself, what's happening in our companies, we're not doing a research set of experiments and hypotheses to be deployed in partnership with Microsoft. Neither are what we're working on in our labs going to be the next, rollout of Gemini. And so hallucination, to that question, the degree to which we are working with LLMs in our companies, meaning Steve, Aaron, and myself, there is an enormous amount of quality engineering happening. There is an enormous amount of testing. There is a lot of proof of concept, pause, recheck, qualify, revalidate happening. Because again, the things that we are solving for is not our companies are not looking to be the foremost expert in pioneering level research engagements. Our companies are pursuing other value propositions. So I think it's an excellent question, and it's something that when you think about the scale and the sheer amount of compute that is needed that then drives some of those hallucinations. It's not something that is in your everyday company right now.